Tyngsborough didn't get into a hole with the ARPA money. You didn't.
No, we were very.
You were very. You spent it very well.
Just on one-time capital investments, it allowed us to take a few years off from borrowing, so our debt went down a little bit. But yeah, I mean, certainly we didn't add any positions with it, which is now what a lot of communities are facing, that fiscal cliff. But yeah, we used it exclusively on capital, and it allowed us to get ahead on quite a bit of capital projects that otherwise would be competing against other ones.
What the ARPA fund and the COVID did was just prolong what was inevitable.
Yeah,
and we're in it right now. We're in the mess that we should have been in 4 years ago.
Linda, we just went to 7 o'clock, so reintroduce the show.
Oh, okay. For those just tuning in, welcome to City Life. I'm your host. I have my town manager, Colin Loiselle from Tyngsborough, and Joe Esposito, who is running for Senate. Esposito. I'm sorry. I want to make you Esposito.
It's all right.
That's our first.
How long have I known you?
I had hockey in my mind.
Don't look for that name on the ballot, okay?
Yeah, just vote for Joe. Vote for Joe.
I'm sorry, Joe.
That's okay.
Like I didn't know. Yeah. So it's interesting that you ran unenrolled, so you didn't have a primary.
I did not have a primary, yeah.
Were you surprised at the outcome of that primary?
Yes, I was surprised, not by the win or loss, the amount surprised me. But it just shows across the country, people who get their people out to vote, they're the ones that are successful. And I'll tell you what, 6% of the vote came out.
It was winter.
Yep. But what I look at is...
It was a horrible winter.
I look at, it wasn't that bad that day. It's 94% of the people that are out there that are complaining that I got to go knock on their doors, which I'm doing, and I'm waking them up, and I'm getting them to tell 2 friends, and so on and so on and so on. The days of sitting back and watching, when I'm getting calls already from people up at the State House asking me if I'm going to be a problem when I get there. So that's from both parties. So we'll see how that is.
What would that mean? I mean, what, do you have to sell your soul before you go down?
Asking too many questions.
I'm going to tell you this right now. It is the easiest job right now to be a legislator in Massachusetts, because 3/4 of everybody wants things done. They want the audit. They want voter ID. They want immigrants to be picked up at the courthouse, not in the neighborhoods. 80% of them. Yeah. So it's the easiest thing in the world. Like if you legislate according to what your people want, it's easy. But when you have to go up at the State House, put on that coat, and you vote with them, you got to go back into the community, and you got to ask them, or you got to answer to them saying, why? I told you we wanted to have an audit. Why aren't you voting for the audit? And there are a lot of people skating around that idea of the audit. Make it clear. Let's make it clear. The question was brought to the Attorney General. The Attorney General okays the question to go out to get the signatures. So when the Attorney General is saying that the question is unconstitutional, well then either the Attorney General is incompetent to do her job or she's lying. Which one is it? Because she looked at the question first, because that's the normal way of going about doing a ballot question.
The state of Massachusetts, we've voted for many questions that they just decide they're not going to enforce anyway.
I mean, like decreasing the taxes?
Yeah.
Yeah. How long's that been? 30 years?
So they just pay no regard. It's but now I'm going to ask you a hard question here. What can you do down there with all those Democrats?
You go down and you find the ones that are tired of it too. And there are people down there that don't want to play in the sandbox the way it is. They're gonna get primaried. I'm telling you that there is a lot of noise out there on the street with people just like me, unenrolled, independent people that have left their parties, not because they like the other color.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens with this election, and I'm telling you, if half the people go out that say they're gonna go out, I should do okay. I'm gonna surprise a lot of people.
Well, it's in 2 weeks, isn't it?
It's in 2 weeks from yesterday. No.
It's just a very difficult time to be running.
Every time, every single time. When's it nice?
Oh, is the town going to announce your magic sign?
About the election?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, tell me about they were talking about it last week. Do we have reverse?
911, absolutely.
Oh.
We use it very sparingly because then people unsubscribe if you use it too frequently. In fact, I think the last time we used it was when there was that horrible shooting at the country club in Nashua, and for a while there was uncertainty about where the suspect went. But yeah, that's wrong. We used it during the snowstorm. But yeah, we have Reverse 911. If you're not signed up for it, you can sign up on our website. We can geographically assign an alert. So in the case of the shooting in Nashua, we assigned it to the west side of town because there was uncertainty about where the suspect may have gone. We could do it for the whole town. In fact, the Drake Water District uses it from time to time when there's water outages.
Oh, we don't want to go down that path.
No,
do we?
I should not. You know, that's
You should
I
have poked
typically
that
ignore
bear.
that one, and I brought it
You
right
knew
up.
it as it
I
was
did
coming
it
out
to
of your
myself.
mouth.
Yeah.
Yes, John.
And as you may recall, it came up because Lowell had threatened to send a text to go and vote.
Yes.
So can your reverse 911 remind residents we should vote today?
Absolutely. We have two different systems, though. Our Reverse 911 we exclusively use for public safety issues, and that is simply because there are people who don't care about the election, and if we send alerts every time there's a town meeting or an election through Reverse 911, they'll unsubscribe, and then we're not reaching as many people during an emergency. However, our website has just as many subscribers, so you can go to our website and sign up for alerts based on a variety of categories. You can get just our general alerts, you can sign up for minutes anytime they're posted, you can even prioritize individual boards. So we have some people that subscribe anytime an agenda for the select board is posted or the conservation commission. But we use that alert system to remind people to vote. And that you can get that as a phone call, as a text message, as an email. And of course, as Linda hinted, we use our beautiful digital sign in the town center, which I think
I've come
is
to
really where it
I'm
comes.
come-
I know.
Did I say vote today?
Yes.
Good.
Yep.
Congratulations. Because
Yeah.
Lowell didn't do it.
We've really crushed. Our staff have crushed the outreach piece. We were talking earlier about low voter turnout. That is entirely due to apathy. I mean, Joe was talking about how nothing changes. We've talked about it before. We were dealing with that same thing in local government. It's not unique to Tyngsborough. You've been to probably every town meeting for the last 30 years, and it's always the same people. So 3 years ago, we launched our first Civic Leadership Academy to get people who don't understand. Because the other thing is, it can be intimidating to go to town meeting.
Yeah, well,
And if you don't
people
know
don't
how-
understand it.
They don't understand it. So we launched a Civic Leadership Academy 3 years ago, and we're seeing the results. We have more contested elections on the local level. Turnout at town meetings since we started it has been higher. Now, this is all anecdotal. I'm not a scientist, so we're not doing scientific analysis here. But of our last cohort, 4 of them, I think we had 12, 4 of them ran and won seats on boards. 4 others were appointed to some of the select board appointed commissions. I don't have the antidote for state government. I don't see the state legislature letting people get as involved as you do on the local level, but that was a problem. We had apathy. People thought, oh, it's the same 15 people at town meeting every year that decide zoning, that decide the budget. We showed people how they could get involved and how they could have a say, and now people are getting involved. I looked yesterday, our May election is shaping up to have 0 uncontested elections.
Really?
Yeah, and it's still early. You have until March 26th to pull papers.
That's very exciting.
The number one group of people getting involved, and it doesn't matter what it is, are 18 to 35-year-old in the United States
Well,
right
I'm
now.
glad to hear
They're
that.
getting involved in religion. They're getting involved in politics. They're getting involved in their local government. They're getting involved in everything. You might not agree with what they're getting, but 18 to 35, they're getting involved, and that gives me hope for the future of this country, because we were going down a slippery slope with no economics, with no civics, and things like that. And with the education part, we have an extremely robust education system from higher education in Massachusetts. We need to start working on our vocational education. As you guys know, I was at the Greater Lowell for 8 years during our reconstruction phase. We brought the Chromebooks, the APA classes, all that things into a first-class institution. It's the number one vocational school in the country. There's no reason why that can't be replicated. You have Freddie Baugh, who's on both councils, both committees now, who can bring the technical part of it into the Lowell, which is happening right now, which he was butting heads with people trying to get the vocational, because we were the outcasts. We were the ones that were sucking all the energy off. And I used to say to people, well, if you don't want us, then you can just say we don't want to participate in it anymore, and you can absorb your 800 students at Greater Lowell into your community, and you can't. But the technical portion of of education needs to be brought back. I went to school right across the street over here, and I learned how to sew. I learned how to cook. I learned how to cut wood. I learned how to do all kinds of crazy things like that right over here with Mr. Chuck. And there's no reason why we can't do that in this right now. Just to get people to get their hands wet, to know what they're doing, to get a feel of what they want to do when they get old. Because college isn't for everybody, but mechanics, electric, plumbing, that's for everybody because you need it.
Well, but the governor ran on that, and nothing was ever done. We were supposed to get more everybody knows we need.
Do you know
more
why she
technical
ran?
schools.
You know why she ran on technical? Because Charlie Baker was fantastic for technical education. He did wonders for the technical world in Massachusetts for the high schools with the grants for the machines for our
We need
upgrades.
more of them. Obviously, there's a waiting list.
No, so when there's a waiting list, that means that somebody wants it.
Yes.
If there's no waiting list, nobody wants it. So there's a waiting list. So what does the state do? They screw up the waiting list
Oh, yeah.
instead of fixing it so there's no waiting list, like building another vocational school. We have empty buildings. There's empty buildings you could throw one of these microphones at right now where it could be a vocational school.
Yeah, but the problem, Joe, is getting the teachers and
Train them.
well.
There was no teachers one time, too.
John, look at this. The legislature only cares about growing government. That's true. Mr. Espinola shows up early to get his message out. Havana Howard doesn't even show up for a debate. Hopefully the voters in the district will see he is fighting for them. In Lowell, they give a reverse 911 when someone goes missing, but no reverse 911 when an individual was at UMass with a ghost gun. Oh, that's interesting. Maybe Rep. Gary can explain why she thinks the audit is political.
So look, I don't know who Jay is. Oh, there's one more.
200 players in the state, 169 on the blue team, 30 on the red team. Blue team always wins.
I don't know who Jay is, but I want to reassure her that the people out in the towns realize that they have not seen much of Rep. Howard. They also know that the other person in the race doesn't have a clear designation of what they are, Republican. I know some people were asking me about if it was unenrolled, where do they live. So that information's getting out there. People are talking about this race. There is energy out there. I've spent a lot of time. I was at the VFW in Pepperell on Monday night with a great group of guys. I actually knew a couple of them from my work with veterans and first responders. And I've spent a lot of time in Tyngsborough. I lived in Tyngsborough for 9 years. I've actually lived in 3 out of the 5 districts. I was born and brought up in Lowell.
You only got 2 left to hit.
Yeah, I lived in Tyngsborough for 9 years, and I got forced to move back to Lowell when I got hired as a police officer. So I had to move back to Lowell. But I was in Tyngsborough for 9 years. And what was described to me back then as old Tyngsborough. Near Four Corners, where the fire station is, the volunteer fire station there. But it's wonderful traveling around these cities and towns. And like I said on the last show, if you were to put a resume together on what a first Middlesex senator should be, it would be me. I've lived in 3 out of the 5 districts. I've represented 4 out of the 5 at Greater Lowell as a school committee person. I've represented all 5 of them as a district captain for the Republican delegate convention back in the 2016 election. So I know a lot of people from all of the districts because of that.
Why aren't you a Republican then?
They wouldn't let me in. The deadlines were closed, and the deadline to become a Republican or a Democrat passed before Ed Kennedy died.
Well, that's bizarre.
And my thing is this, okay? Part of me running was the 2 representatives that were currently holding office that ran for the state Senate seat, did not give up their seat. I did not like that because they had nothing to lose. And Rep. Howard has nothing to lose right now. When she loses next week or 2 weeks from now, she goes right back to the same seat that she was in. So when I talk about that, I say you're not taking their seat away from them. You're adding me, a fresh set of eyes, fresh set of ideas to the team. So to expand the team with a different, not to move the team around, because we know what that team has done. We've seen the team, we've seen the work, and it all has cost the taxpayers a lot of
Well,
money.
I know she wants a mileage tax. We can't have any more taxes. That's the most bizarre.
She's
of all.
also a co-sponsor or a signer of a new bill that is up there that is going to be, as of right, 15,000 square foot lot in Massachusetts. So it'll be as of right. It's already coming down. They should be voting on it next week. There's a piece on Inside Lowell that Marty Laurie wrote that has her support. It's 15,000 square foot lot in a town or city that has the infrastructure to support it. Now, that is vague, but that is coming down. That is just like MBTA. That is just like all the other mandates that the state is throwing upon us. And when the state talks about forcing MBTA, so we have one bus that goes through Drake, so they want to give us 2,200 units of apartment buildings to put kids in our school, to have
And I'm not sure it even goes to where they want to put it.
yeah. So when they say the forced
I know
infrastructure,
we just have one on one side of the river.
I have a piece that's going to be released today, and it involves a property that's in Tyngsborough, and it also talks about the courthouses. So the state has all these properties. They have all these properties that they own, that are dormant, like that, in like 11 Indian Lane. In Tyngsborough.
They're supposed
next
to give
the
that
bridge.
to the town for the record.
Yep. Well, it's
They've
not
promised
happening.
and promised.
It's not happening, and that's a good tax roll right there. I think you could make $7,000 or $8,000 a year on that, plus the cost of the. Why aren't they moving to get that in? That's one of the things that I will work on when I get into the Senate. But the state has all their own hundreds of thousands of acres of land. They have all these empty buildings that they have plenty of things to do that they could create housing instead of forcing it on people. Unfunded mandates. We're going to give you 2,200 or whatever the number ends up being of apartment and communities to take care of people that they're inviting in from other countries when we don't have our homeless currently living in this country satisfied with their living conditions. So we're inviting people to come here who are struggling in their own right. And it's supposed to be temporary. So why is it lasting years and years? Let's do 6 months, and after 6 months, you can be on your own, and then we make room for somebody else. It can't keep going on and on and on with perpetual free stuff for everybody, because we're the ones paying for it. We have no money to pay for our own things.
Yeah.
This is Dean Conto, his mom, it's her birthday.
Oh.
109.
Wow.
109.
Wow.
God bless her, Dan.
That's remarkable.
Yes. God bless. Nice to see, Dean. We also had parents who taught us to be self-sufficient. Parenting has definitely changed. We also had parents who taught us, oh, there it is again. The Howard Lion lost her courage the other day. Is she still allowed in Oz to?
And you had, Cisco made a good point. Regardless of whether you like someone or not, regardless of whether you're going to take a beating or not, you should be out in the public. You should be talking about your stances. If people are aware, the Coalition for Better Acre had an event where they had a debate, and they invited me because I was part of the Secretary of State. I had completed my paperwork, so they invited me. So there was Vanna, Rodney, and me to go to the debate, CBA. When I got there, they didn't have a seat for me. So I said, that's okay. You don't have, I know you're not ready. They had cameras set up and everything. I said, promise me you'll have a debate for the general election, because there'll be 3 of us. I promise we'll have a general election debate. Still haven't heard from the CBA. That's where Vanna Howard is supposedly has all her people, is in the nonprofit community in the acre. So why not debate? Why not sit here on John McDonough's show, Inside Lowell, CAP? Why not sit here and talk about the issues? Why sit back and let people throw things across the bow at you when you can't defend it? defend the decisions that you make. If you make those decisions, I remember Judge Walker down at the Lowell District Court when I first became a police officer. I was nervous. I've known Judge Walker since I was a child. And he said, "What are you nervous about?" I said, "I'm nervous. I'm going to make a wrong decision that's going to cost me my job or somebody else's freedom." He says, "We have a rule in this courthouse, and it's in most courthouses. If you believe you're doing the right thing, and you can back your decision on why you did it, then you'll be okay." So if Vanna believes that the decisions that she made and all the votes that she made were the correct ones to make according to her and her constituents, then she should be able to sit next to me and say why she voted one way or the other. And the thing is, you can't defend your vote against your constituents because your constituents don't want it. I said a couple of things the other day that my opinion does not or may not represent my residents. In that case, I will go with the residents because the majority of the residents want that. That's their vote. I'm representing them, not me.
It's become a conservative district when you see that when they changed the district and they picked up Drake and got rid of Westford and Groton.
Yeah.
Westford and Groton. So it should be a conservative district, I would think.
Well, that's why they moved it, because at the time, Drake was with Lawrence. And as you see, Drake's a Trump voter. Lawrence voted for Trump. And the Democrats who are in charge, they can't have that because they might lose the seat. So they moved Drake back into Lowell, where it always should have been anyways. So now they're in it. When I ran the last time in 2018, which we didn't get to finish, I gave up my seat at Greater Lowell, which was a seat that I felt very, very connected to. That was an emotional journey for me because that's where I graduated from in 1983. It was very, very important for me to be on that committee. I gave it up to run for Senate. So when they didn't give up the seat, that drove me to come out again to run. But when you look at the districts, I was in Drake, it was in with Lawrence, Andover, and Tewksbury. I had to take a plane to fly from one end of my district to the other. It was horrible. Drake, it makes more sense here. I'm 21. And again, I'm in Drake. I'm right in the middle of the whole district. I'm 21 minutes either way. So I live. People always say to the Democrats that were running, how are you going to keep in mind the towns? How are you going to make sure that the towns don't get left out? My answer is easy. Every night I go home, I put my head down on a pillow that's in Drake, in a town. And if you vote for me for your next senator, I'll be the first senator from a town in this district for 55 years.
Well.
1971 was the last time a senator in this district was from a town.
Well, that's interesting.
And it's going to be a long time before the towns get a chance to vote for someone from a town
So the district
that has the
includes-
capacity to do the job.
So what's your district?
My district, who's in the district? It's Drake, Lowell, Dunstable, Tyngsborough, and Pepperell. Again, I've lived in 3 of the communities.
He's working on the other two.
I'm a taxpayer in 2. I would probably still be living in Tyngsborough, but I love Drake.
Happy to welcome you back.
Now,
Free trash.
Yeah, I've been in Drake now for almost 25 years. I was a coach in Drake, and it's funny because I have kids now that are holding signs and putting signs out for me that I coached in T-ball that now can vote for me. So it's very exciting to see how everything evolves and it comes around. And I'm connected to the community. People know me. I've always been part of the community. I'm not that front person. I'm the guy in the pickup truck. I'm the guy delivering things. I'm the guy not taking pictures. I'm the guy that's always going out to get something when we run out of things. So people know I'm involved in all of these nonprofits. Most of them, like UTEC, the House of Hope, they've all changed names. And I was part of those programs when they were seedlings as part of the police department. So I know everybody. It's great when I go downtown and to go into the coalition because I was one of the early police officers that worked in the North Common.
Oh.
I was on a pedal bike, and there were 3 of us,
Oh, my.
and they had a lot of gang problems. It looked similar to the South Common. And by the end of the summer, There were people having cookouts in the outfield watching the baseball and softball games, whereas before in the springtime there was drug dealing and gang violence, and we were able to give that place back to the people. What's going on right here at the South Common is atrocious. I grew up here. I skinned my knees in that park, right? It's just amazing to spend all that money in there. I have family members that teach at the school over here. They bring the kids outside. There are people living in the slides. There's no reason for that. And we talk about all the things that are going on with the community. We have all the services in place. All the services are there. They just don't overlap. There's huge gaps. There's huge cracks in the middle of it. The mental health and addiction field is very, very special to me. I lost my brother to addiction. A lot of people don't know that. And I was in a dark place too. I'm diagnosed with PTSD, complex PTSD. So I've learned, I was able to pick myself up with the help of some people. I have spent significantly large amounts of time in the classroom learning to help people like me and like my brother get to a better place. When I look at the people in the common, people look at them, you can't help them. I don't look at what they are, I look at what they can be. There's somebody in there. There's somebody's kid is in there. When people say they don't want any help, who are you asking? Those people forgot who they were years ago. We need to get to them. We need to bring them to a place. Everybody, it's become a business. And I see it in my own first responder world and veteran world. It's become a business, and we've lost track of what the focus is. The focus is to serve the people with mental health and mental issues. You can have a productive life. I'm living proof that you can get back. I was there, I went to a different place, and now I'm back. I'm in my post-traumatic growth stage right now. And it's there. You can do it to every person. It breaks my heart to hear stories about that gentleman that jumped off the bridge yesterday, because I think about where he was in his head and how he felt. That was the last thing that he had to do. And that is sad to me, and everybody should take pause and think about that. We have a mental health issue. We had a shooting at an ice rink in Pawtucket, Rhode Island, another mental health issue. We blame everything on mental health. They blame that on mental health. Now they'll start messing with the Second Amendment because there was a gun involved. It's not the guns, and it's an overrun saying, but guns don't kill people. People kill people. And if they don't have guns, they're going to use knives and pressure cookers with bombs in them. They're going to find a way to kill people if they want to kill people. It's not the guns. It's the mental health. We need to spend time on working with mental health. Connect these gaps. Overlap. We don't need wraparound services because some people have 6 blankets and other people have none. We need to have connection. Everybody needs to overlap. We need to get these services to force them to do the hard things. We need to measure them.
Accountable?
Yes, we need to make them accountable by measuring their successes. We don't need to add things to a system that don't work, like safe needle sites. That we don't even know this system don't work. Why are we going to add safe injection sites? I don't. It doesn't get it. Not that it doesn't work. It does work. It has some benefits to it, but you don't overload a system that doesn't work right now.
Okay, on inside wall, you stated that.
It seems your mic just dropped out.
On.
Or just change mics.
Oh, okay. 1 second. There we go. Alrighty. I should have made Colin read it. On inside wall, you stated that if you had the time, you would have registered as a Democrat. No, as a Republican, wasn't it?
No. I said if I would have ran as a Democrat.
You would have ran as a Democrat.
I would have ran as a Democrat, and I've said it since I stopped running as a Republican. I look at it this way: if I was leaning up against the wall and they were picking teams in the schoolyard for kickball, if I wanted to be on a winning team, I'd want to be on the Democrat team because they're a team. I've played with the Republicans.
But you don't like what the team is doing.
What do? You go and you change the team. The Republican Party, I've been on that team. They did not help me. They did not do anything for me. Well, I know what the Republican Party is like right now until they change. Right now, I would have ran as a Democrat. But I got to tell you, I am perfectly happy being unenrolled because I think both parties have their flaws.
Okay, and the one problem in Lowell, with Lowell is they have a shelter that is way overdue for a complete renovation. I'll bet if the inspector did an inspection, it would fail. I agree with that. That's
Now, getting back to the Republican Democrat thing, look what the Republican Party did in the first district. There was a person who was an unenrolled candidate. Then that person went to a ballot to get his name on the ballot as a write-in. Where was the Republican Party before to recruit to get Sam in before? No, but they wait for us to make a decision to put ourselves out there on the line. So to me, the recruitment part of the Republican Party in Massachusetts, and we can agree on this.
Yes.
It is a lot to be desired. That's for sure. And there are a lot of people that think more like Republicans in this state than they do like Democrats. Because the Democratic Party, I want the Democratic Party that I grew up with. And I think that is in the middle, and that's where I am right now.
Okay, I'm going to change gears a little bit, back to Colin here in Tyngsborough and the towns. Something I keep reading about and seeing about. I know that we've built a lot of areas in the towns, and the wildlife and the deer are a problem. Are we having a problem with the deer and the wildlife right now?
No, I mean, certainly as we've, one of the biggest projects I think of is the warehouse project on Kendall Road, right next to right behind the park and ride and our highway.
Yep.
Certainly we have, forced the deer to relocate.
Yeah.
But I think just the nature of how we've developed, especially on the west side, as you get closer to Groton and Westford, we keep tearing down forested land to build houses. I wouldn't say that it's a dramatic problem, but certainly people are seeing all kinds of wildlife more. I see photos
I just don't
online
see them on the
podcasts all
street, which
time.
is a good thing.
Yeah. I think there's still plenty of places for them. I mean, I don't know how deer think, but I think there's still plenty of non-street spaces for them to gather in.
There is an issue with the wildlife, is that people want to feed them. And that, like with the ducks and the geese, it isn't good for them. Don't be giving bread to deer. It's going to bloat their stomachs.
As someone who would very much enjoy having a coyote as a pet, I can understand the interest in feeding
Oh, well, you'd be
wildlife.
happy. I have a fox that's made a home in my shed. So I think
you
we're going
can
to have
keep the
little
fox.
foxes,
Oh,
baby
that
foxes.
might be cute.
Soon, I imagine.
But yeah, we're seeing that we were talking before the show about that on lakes and keeping the water.
Open, because we
Open.
have an issue. And the issue is that with the aerators, the open water, and then the ducks can't fly, and they become prey, and it's not a good situation. We had never thought about that. We have we do have regulation on aerators now, but we were thinking more of the people and making
Right.
sure people didn't drown. And
Well, the
escape.
reality is nowadays you really kind of just have to assume that the ice isn't safe no matter where you are.
Yeah.
I mean, look at that poor couple on the
Oh
Cape
my
that were
God!
walking
They
their
didn't
dog.
even know where they were. Oh, how frightening was that?
Yeah,
They were in the ocean. Oh, terrible.
I didn't know
So-
the ocean could freeze.
No, I never.
So it must be like an inlet or something.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Well,
but I mean, the ice
suppose-
generally, we should just assume the ice is not safe because
I grew up on the lake over, and almost every year someone drowned.
Yeah.
And that's why I built a rink at my house, so my son wouldn't go down to the
there
lake.
you go.
There you go.
That is
Because-
some creative parenting.
Because it was just, but if you build them, they will come.
I remember growing up, there used to be cars out
Yeah.
on the river with ice. And then my dad would tell me stories about when his parents came over from Portugal. One of their uncles, they used to live back here, they owned an ice company where they used to have ice boxes with refrigerators, and they would go out to the river and they would cut the squares of boxes and go
Remarkable.
down the alleyways
Well, that's
to
what Flint
yell
Pond
on
was.
ice.
That's what Flint Pond was.
Flint Pond
That's
did it
why
too,
it's
yep.
so shallow.
But my dad would say that the river used to freeze, and they would go out on the river and they would cut the blocks of ice. And I was like, the river used to freeze? Wow.
Speaking of the center, what you've done with the center, the dam there is fabulous.
Beautiful.
The state did
They did
the
a really
dam.
good job.
So it kind of ties that whole center. It's a very nice walking area.
One day I'm going to do like a time lapse video
Oh,
of the town center, going back maybe 2010 before we touched any of those buildings to now. I know we get criticism about the pedestrian bridges. It's people's
Well-
favorite thing online. We didn't use the budget. It was a state grant, if that makes people feel better. But I do think from a walking perspective,
just the one that goes to nowhere.
yeah.
Just the one.
But I think they're handy during the festivals.
Yes,
They're handy.
Thank you, Joe.
Yeah, they are.
Otherwise-
They add to the ambiance.
Yes.
Yeah, but otherwise you want them to walk out into the traffic.
It connects to a sidewalk. There is a sidewalk on this. But you're right. The town center has come a really long way.
It really is. They moved all the monuments into one location,
Yeah.
which I think is lovely for people to support.
And I think our fire station being up there is really the nice finishing touch. It's a community building. It'll do something with what is right now, unfortunately, an eyesore on the top of that hill.
Yeah, and have been concerned that it was going to go the route of the barn that we spent a lot of money on. And at the end of the day, you keep studying it and throwing money at it, and then you can't do anything with
Right.
it. And it's getting to.
I think so.
I know a couple of guys that want to get a roll of Tyvek and wrap that building again.
I hear this
so that
all
it's
the
not
time.
being flapping around like it is
I
right
know.
now.
I know. Well, you did that last year, and it just didn't work.
Well, the problem is the Tyvek was intended to be a very short term.
Yeah.
It was supposed to get us from the abatement that we did in the summer of 24 to when the work on that town meeting vote for May of 23 happened. The money just simply wasn't there, and I certainly can't justify. Since I know what the planned intent for the building is, I think it would be, a disservice to the taxpayers to use municipal money right out
Well,
of.
I guess my
profit.
advice to the taxpayers is that, look what happened with Lowell High, and you go into a building that old, it's gonna be throwing a lot of money into it, because every board you pick up, there's gonna be something under it.
And we don't have a use for it.
Right.
That's we talk a lot about, we can restore it. And I mean, one of the things the Historical Commission has proposed multiple times is restoring the building in thirds. It's a condemned building. You can't put a third of a mechanical system in, a third of a fire suppression system in, a third of a new electrical system. So you got to do it all. You can't do anything. And then once you've renovated it, there are operating costs that CPC can't support, that debt can't support, the general fund has to support. And we were talking earlier about our deficit that we're looking at for next year.
Yeah.
We don't have the staff to clean it, to maintain it, and we don't have an actual municipal use for it.
Do we have, now I know we have a DPW person now. Do we have a person that maintains all the town buildings?
Yes, as a part of the DPW Act, we created a facilities division.
Okay.
I mean, I think the facilities division is 2.5 full-time employees.
Yeah,
So
but
it's
thank
still
you. I
small,
mean, you have come up with a lot of good ideas to tie the town together.
And the DPW Act, a lot of people, I don't know why really, but there was some skepticism about it, but it's created a heck of a lot of efficiencies. Our sewer division is hiring contractors less because now they can work with our highway division.
Oh.
And so they're using highway equipment. Same thing with cemetery. We used to have to exclusively hire vendors to come in and dig the graves.
Yeah.
Because we took cemetery and put it as a division of DPW, now our DPW folks are digging the graves. And so you're not talking millions of dollars, but we're managing the burials. Where we've cleaned up. Our new town clerk is remarkable, Jessica Brunel.
Oh, I love her.
She is.
I will agree.
She is
She's a very, very nice person.
fantastic. She's very interested in, creating new systems, creating efficiency. She's brought a lot of people in to even the elections. I mean, our board of registrars previously was not really involved at all. They're now physically working at every single election. The elections go incredibly
I'm
smooth.
glad, because they used to. I'm glad to see that.
Yeah.
They were helpful with me.
Yeah.
I will say that. They were definitely very helpful. And I will add, too, when you talk about the collaboration with the towns, I know that all the towns, just based upon my living in Dracut and going out and talking to, I spend a lot of time with the fire, the police, and the DPWs and the workers. You can see the collaboration of effort that goes on in the towns. And I think that's what the city council in Lowell is striving to do with their combined facilities project that they're working on, trying to get the facilities department to work in collaboration to reduce the overlap of effort. And then when you have less people doing the jobs and more people who are more concentrated and experts on that particular task, it gets done more efficiently, correctly, and quickly than if you have someone that just trying to wing it by reading the directions. So I think the facilities part of Lowell, if it mirrors anything like the towns, which seems to be a success to the taxpayers, I think it'll be successful in Lowell as well.
We've got a nice young town, too. We have you, with Allison. We now have an engineer that is very helpful to
Yeah.
all the boards.
I mean, that was another cost saving. We hired our first full-time engineer in 2018. before that, anytime we did any project, we were spending 45, 50 grand to have a consultant come in and design it. And they were designing the most expensive project because they were getting paid based on the scope of the work. And so that alone, and again, has helped our sewer division. It's really been a big...
And that Old Town engineer that you had, I did some projects with him. He had like 17 different jobs he was doing.
Crazy.
He was always running all over the place. I'm not surprised you couldn't find anybody for a while.
Well, then you lack oversight.
Yes.
Okay, a question for Colin, which doesn't go to you actually. With the boathouse up for sale, would it benefit both towns to purchase it and use it for parking for the lake? Jay? We're having a hard time just getting the cop with the state. That's difficult. Humans take all the woods away from the animals, and the animals are the problem. The state police is among the lackluster departments in Massachusetts. How can this be fixed?
On the boathouse, real quick, we've been we talked about this a few times that I've been on the show, with the boat ramp in Drake-It. It's a state-run boat ramp. The state DCR, which manages it, has been incredibly unhelpful. They think they've been helpful, which is the problem. I actually think that we would benefit from less public parking on the lake, because what you're seeing is people, and we talk about this all the time, when we look back at the tickets that we've issued, just the Tyngsborough Police, because Drake-It doesn't have a marine unit, we have one. Thanks to the Lake Association, they donated a boat. So we issue all the tickets on the lake. Environmental police have been very helpful as well. But when you look at the tickets we're issuing, they're not to people who live on the lake. They're not even to people from Tyngsborough or Drake-It. Most of our tickets were to people from Revere and Everett, because there's no pay to parking. They come in the beginning. One group, we had 5 jet skiers chasing each other around, playing bumper boats, totally being reckless. And they, in the morning, paid for someone to trailer their jet skis to the lake, dropped them off. The dude with the truck and the trailer left and came back hours later. So now they're parking their jet skis in front of people's houses or on public land, creating hazards. More parking, I think, actually will make the issue worse. One of the things we've been trying to get the state to do is allow Drake-It to charge basically a visitor's pass. When you sell, there's 7 trailer spots at that parking lot. When you sell 7 passes for the day, that's it. No more outside vessels, because the state put those 7 spots there after they did an analysis of how many vessels can fit on the lake, accounting for the people that live on the lake. So in my mind, once those 7 spots are taken, that's it. The boat ramp is closed unless you live on the lake. The state was incredibly unwilling. Their suggestion, and they went ahead and did it, was to install a security camera. So now the Drake-It police, who are already stretched thin and can't respond, we've called for assistance, and they're tied up. They can't help us. Now they can watch the issue from a security camera, but again, it's not stopping the people from getting on the lake. So I think that using the boathouse for parking lot actually makes that problem.
You mean they don't stop when you yell stop?
You wouldn't believe it. It's really
crazy.
bizarre. Yeah.
That's one of my first jobs that I did with Ed Davis was Marine Patrol with Chelmsford and Lawrence and Methuen up and down the Merrimack River. It's troubling for me running for Senate when you hear the state is uncooperative with whatever. Like, what else is it that you do?
And I'm putting that nicely for the record.
And what
Yes,
else?
you are.
What else do you do? Like, if you're not charging people taxes, crazy stuff, like, why can't you help your constituents in your residents with it? Just like the South Common, where people, well, we tried to get the city to put in a substation at the housing projects over here. It used to be Bishop Markham. Well, you're part of the state. How about some money? There's hundreds of millions of dollars to be thrown around everywhere. How about a couple bucks for a precinct over here? How about a couple of bucks for some funding? Because we used to get a great grant for the town. We cleaned up the river. We used to get a grant to fund our. It was all overtime. And so where is that money? Why can't the legislators, local legislators, help out with that? I haven't spoke with them, so I shouldn't say anything. Maybe it's because someone like me said something bad and they're mad. But
Thanks,
it doesn't make any sense why we can't get a collaborative effort, because if you live I can throw a rock from my house and hit that lake. If you live around there, you know there's problems. Mm-hmm. They have Facebook pages created for just that lake, and it's just it's amazing to me why those problems still continue. Where it's not the local police, it's not the local towns, because I see
together,
them.
right?
Yeah, they're putting horses up. I know that worked this year with no parking along the marshland across from the lake. So that toned it down a bit. But Colin, see, you have some ideas. I'm sure the people in Drake have some ideas. I'm sure the residents have some ideas. If everybody sat down in a room and hashed out their ideas instead of throwing bombs across the bow at each other, we could get something done. And that's what I'm proposing as a legislator, just to sit everybody down at the table. Ed Davis sent me away with neighborhood groups to stay with him for a weekend to work things out. And he'd say, don't come back until it's all worked out. Berry Road Project, there was a group home that they wanted to put there. Myself and another officer went away with the neighborhood groups that were arguing about the group home with the people who were going to open the group home. We came back with an agreement. And now Berry Road is Megan's house.
Oh, very nice.
And now it's expanded. So, like, when you sit down, things could happen, and beautiful things can happen over problems.
But Colin has, and the Drake people have agreed. It's the state.
And I want to just be totally clear. We weren't even asking DCR to give us any money. We were saying to DCR, they have an agreement with Drake that Drake has to control the boat ramp, but it has to remain open. And our interpretation of the agreement is that Drake could charge money for these day passes, which would allow Drake to hire a security guard or a police detail to say, once those 7 spots are filled, that's it. The lake is closed to outside
Then
vessels.
he gets to sit there, or she, and just enjoy the day.
I will give credit to Representative Gary. We did get $25,000 in an earmark this year to fund overtime for our Marine unit, because otherwise it's coming out of town. But we weren't even asking DCR for money. We said simply let us enforce the terms. And all DCR wanted to do was pound their fists on the pavement and say, well, we've been working at this for 30 years. Well, newsflash, maybe it's time to try a different approach.
Well, and
Simple
again,
fix to that, the sign, tow zone.
Well, the Lake
Tow zone,
Association,
they will not park there.
you'd be surprised, John. They do still park there.
They still park. They
They do
still
tow
park.
them. The problem is Drake, just similar to us, Drake doesn't have all the police officers they'd like to have. So you're pulling police officers off of other calls to
Tell
deal
the
with
fire
this.
department- Tell the fire department to come down, then one of their trucks and sit there all day, and pay them overtime.
Deal. I mean, then the question is, where does the money come from? We have, we got $25,000, which will fund us being on the lake. But there's really 2 issues. There's the reckless behavior on the lake, and then there's the issues. And in Drake, that's not even to talk about the fact that people set up legitimate camps there on the public beach. It's not my zoo. I'm not worried about it. But like, you see pictures in the summertime. I'm sure Joe's seen this. You've got 5 or 6 grills. People set up these easy up tents, and they are there all day long.
See, Drake we had that at the bar on my street, and you fixed it.
Yes.
You stopped
We
it.
have these parking.
It can be
notices,
stopped.
No parking, funeral.
Yeah, we should put those up.
And-
You're
and
a real
it's-
special jerk if you take funeral parking.
One church has their own cones that says tow zone. Nobody parks in front of that church.
But people take the no parking for funeral. People take that.
Yeah.
And it's
Sick.
And we should
Sick.
reiterate that Representative Gary is quite helpful with this, and I'm
Yes,
sure
she gets that money.
she does not like when the springtime comes, because
she
that's
gets
probably the
inundated.
number one concern,
Yeah.
because she's the rep on both districts. So she gets hammered over there with that stuff. But money's hard to come by to get to the
Yep.
cities and towns. But why? Let's knock on them. Let's get our state legislators to pound on the government to release some of that money instead of fighting with the government. Let's invite some stuff in back here.
You have an issue because you don't have the media. It used to be a time when you could actually go to the media and bring these subjects up and get some press on
We
it.
did get a little bit of help. The Lowell Sun, I know people give it criticism, but we got quite a bit of coverage
Which is
on
due.
that, which certainly do. And then actually also, I did an interview with Fox 25 Boston. That is what got the state to come to an on-site meeting. In that interview, I called them unresponsive, because I think that's how you describe not responding to phone calls and emails. I
Yeah.
think the last time I went to school, they didn't like that. That's what brought them to come to
nice.
Tyngsborough.
Nice.
So we did get a little bit of help.
Yeah.
But again, the end result was the state put up a security camera so they can watch in real time all the trouble, but it doesn't solve the problem.
Thank you. Now that the neighbor to neighbor is gone for the bridge.
Isn't the bridge, and no
The
thanks to me,
bridge-
that is our
oh,
library director, our assistant library director,
Congratulations to them.
a tremendous
Because it was
replacement.
missing and people didn't have, and we have it at the housing authority and
Oh,
can't
beautiful.
keep them
Yeah,
there.
and I mean, again, that is an example. Our library staff, we have minimum staffing in the library. If you lay off an employee, if we're down somebody, we've got to reduce hours simply for a liability purpose. But they do not stop being creative and innovative. The programming has increased, I think it's like 75% over the last 3 years. And when the neighbor to neighbor unfortunately discontinued, our library director and our assistant library director were immediately like, this is a need that people have. There were a lot of seniors in town that relied on it because it was still a print a print newsletter.
Yes.
They don't sign up for our alerts.
And people that don't know, the Neighbor to Neighbor is a communication,
Yes.
like a newsletter that's
Yeah.
written that's
the
spread out
towns.
around the towns. yeah.
Remarkable. And our library staff said, we can do this with existing staff. They don't print all of the copies right now. They print it for the Center for Active Living, for the Housing Authority. There are hard copies available. We're exploring going to the business model where people can advertise like Neighbor to Neighbor did, so we can mail it to everyone. But even just having hard copies and the digital one, you can sign up to get it right in your inbox. It's an incredible
Yeah,
replacement.
and people always kept it on the refrigerator or something. It was just so, and I was just so pleased when I saw it
They
come
did.
out.
Now, Lindsay, you bring up the media and not being truthful, and I often say this, that if there was a true media right now, we would have Boston Tea Party 2.0, because people would be starting to realize what's happening to their tax money, and they'd be throwing the tea into the harbor again.
Oh, yeah, I know. It's been very difficult with the media, but the sun was always difficult too. It was never easy with the Lowell Sun. But we used to have 2 radio stations, and we had the paper that at least you could get some news, and now there's just
Well, I think coming on shows like this are important. The number of people that will stop me for the next couple of days that said they saw me on City Life, you have to go where people are, and they're certainly watching John's programming. I see it in the morning when I'm scrolling through.
Well, my granddaughter watched it up in Merrimack on YouTube.
Yeah.
So I was.
So, John, you're filling a gap that wouldn't exist otherwise.
Beverly watches it in Connecticut.
Wow.
So.
It's definitely a handy tool. It definitely
So-
is, and people do pay attention.
Yeah.
And when I'm out, and you talk about getting out to the towns, Pepperell. I was out in Pepperell the other day, and they talking about City Life. They saw me that I was here last week.
Yeah.
But also, when you talk about the libraries, I went out to Pepperell to a pie sale. I brought a couple of local pies from Drake at Shaw Farm out to the Pepperell Library, and I was astonished with the amount of people that were using the library.
It's,
Oh, yeah.
There was a line with people with their kids. It was so overwhelmingly heartwarming. It was fantastic. Got to talk to a lot of people, met a lot of people, and they have the same concerns. It doesn't matter across all grains of life right now, the same concerns. It's really sad.
We share our building, as Linda knows, with the library. If you come to Town Hall, 95% of the vehicles in the parking lot are at the library.
Yeah.
And we're open on Saturdays, and that parking lot is full.
They
There's
have
something
quite
for
a
everybody.
program for the
Yeah.
kids and everything.
The senior centers are a good commodity for the cities and towns. I know I'm going to the senior center in Lowell on Friday. I'm going to Drake it this afternoon for a pizza party for Ash Wednesday today.
Oh, yes, Ash
going,
Wednesday.
Going off to say is the start of Lent. Going off to get my ashes after this show. And then off to the senior center in Drake it. And it's been great. And I tell everybody on my radio show on CAP, when I talk to people who come on to announce their candidacy or talk about their candidacy, I always tell them, I said, even if you lose, you don't lose, because you meet so many people.
Well, you
And
make
if
great
you're not,
friends.
yeah, if you're not a people person, you don't want to run anyways.
Yeah.
And I have met so many people out in Dunstable and Pepperell and people that I've connected with that I hadn't seen in a long time that have moved from the area that now have relocated to Pepperell and Dunstable. Kids I've grown up with are reaching out to me to get signs
We've
and,
got a
and
lot
whatnot.
of you in Tyngsborough.
Yeah, it's a really, really good community, and I've gained so much respect and love from people out in the community right now. I'm so glad I ran. So glad I ran, and it's gaining traction, and I think we're going to surprise a lot of people with the numbers that we turn out.
Well, I hope when you're talking about the towns that people that do watch can learn from what Colin does with our town. Because
Yes.
he really reaches out, he talks, he listens. I haven't talked to people call me, I haven't talked to one person that hasn't gotten an answer. Okay, great show today, Colin. Is always a great guest. Another fabulous job by Linda. Oh, must be a friend. Good luck, Joe. Running against the Democrats here is literally David versus Goliath. Absolutely, it is. It is. It's a tough state, but
Well, the
we're
towns-
fortunate in Tyngsborough.
The towns can decide this, and
Yeah.
it's very important for the towns right now to have. They can have their own representation right now,
That we
and
haven't
it
had.
doesn't happen that often.
No.
So I spend my day in Lowell, my nights and weekends in the towns, just by chance. So I would appreciate if you would consider me for your vote on March 3rd. And if you want any information about me, you go to Joe, the number 4.com, Joe for Change, sorry, Joe, the number 4change.com, Joe4change.com. If you need to get in touch with me, 978-337-8427, 978-337-8427, 978-337-8427. 3 times, right, John?
Perfect, Joe. Look, you just want to announce who's coming.
Host tomorrow is Evelyn Thorin, no Bob Hoey, Paul Cohen, who is their town manager, and Sam Chase. For Chelmsford, it's at Chelmsford Day. So I always have to thank you all for coming up, getting up.
Thanks for having
particularly
me.
for you.
Absolutely.
I love getting Colin in here and finding out and letting people know. I keep telling Mark, we're giving Oz a
Absolutely.
run for their money,
Certainly
Tyngsborough, because we've got a nice young we've got a young police chief,
Yep.
a young fire chief, I think a young superintendent of schools.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're young. I think it really is going in a good direction.
Cities and towns.
Everybody talks too.
Yeah.
I have to say, you're better than even sometimes when I was involved in politics. Everybody seems to deal with each other.
Well, I mean, this is what it sounds
No
like. This is what
animosity.
Joe is running on. If you don't talk and you just fight and hate each other, what progress do you make? We don't agree all the time. I mean, if you've watched any select board meeting, there's certainly been disagreements. We're in the heart of budget negotiations, so there's certainly a push and pull between the town side of the budget and the school side of the budget, which is natural and healthy. But if you don't talk, you end up in your silos, and then
But
nothing gets
you
done.
look at master planning, and we had a lot of needs. We needed a school, we needed a fire station, and you came up with the right solution to do the school, and not put it all on the taxpayer.
All about Well, again, it's all about prioritizing and understanding that at some point the well is going to run dry. People simply can't afford to pay more in taxes.
But it makes people want to participate when they see that they do get heard.
Yeah.
And that like the people that wanted the new school are happy. Now the people that want a new fire, but we do need God knows we do need a fire station.
Yeah. And that's, you got to get out and vote. 6% is abysmal.
Yeah.
And show you care. I tell people it doesn't matter who you vote for, as long as you vote. I don't appreciate it you considered me, but as long as you get up and vote, then you have participated in democracy, and you have made the world know that you care. And I tell people, from my experience with elected officials, they care more about the blank votes when they're running than they do about the votes that actually come in for them, because they want to know why that person went there, took the time, ran it through with nothing on it. They want to know why. They want to win that person's vote. So I tell people, you want to protest, go and send it blank. That'll send up
That's
the
an
whistles.
interesting touch. But anyway, the election is March 2nd.
March 3rd.
3rd?
March 3rd.
You vote on March 2nd. Everyone else will vote on March 3rd.
you can-
Unless you're voting
I'm very
for Joe,
eager. I'm very
then show
eager
up
to
on
vote.
March 3rd.
Obviously.
Yeah, March 7th if you're not voting for me.
No mail-in.
Yeah.
No mail-in.
No, mail-in. There's mail-in. Yep.
Except-
Yep.
but
You can request a mail-in
So
up to
wait.
February 24th. You can register to vote up to February 21st. You can find all that information at joe4change.com. You can sign up. You can register. You can ask for a mail-in ballot right off of my website.
No kidding.
Yes.
You're giving out ballots? That's frightening.
Well, I don't give them out. No.
They're pre-filled out, right?
They sign up through the state.
Yeah.
And the state goes to the city, and the city mails them. It doesn't have anything to do with me. I just provided the link from the government
okay.
for them to
I
click.
thought you had a stash.
No, they could, which they
Listen,
did.
that wasn't supposed to be on the show.
They did in the last election
You have to
because
meet
there
him
was
at his car
there
for
was a
that.
snafu that happened with the polling places, and the state secretary's office had a planned shutdown or revamping of their computer system, so they didn't have the mail-in ballots available. So the candidates were able to grab some mail-in ballots to hand out to people,
Oh, my.
which is
Naughty.
inordinary.
Yes. No,
But they did. But now they're back to business as usual. You go onto my website, Joe4Change, Joe4change.com. You can click to register to vote by February 21st. You can ask for a mail-in ballot by February 24th. And when you do the mail-in ballot, you can ask for just this election or the rest of the year. And also, if you mail in your ballot and you change your mind from the time you mail in your ballot into the day of the election, if you go into the polling place and you cast your ballot in person, that supersedes the mail-in ballot. So you can change your mind.
So you're gonna have two ballots.
You could have two ballots.
I don't like that.
The one in person counts.
They don't run the mail-in ballots until the polls close.
Oh,
so you
so,
have an updated
so there
list.
you are with the registrars coming active
Yes.
and
Yeah,
working.
exactly.
Yeah, that's why they don't run them through before. They run them after.
Now, we have two polling places.
We do.
We
the
have
new middle school.
The new
If you
mid-
live on the east
Oh,
side. of
wow,
town.
everybody, if you want to see what the new school.
And I would just remind you, you're going to walk through. It's a beautiful building. We did a great job. $3 million under budget, which is
Well-
really in this day and age remarkable.
Here's the dark. Have you put lights up in the parking lot? 'Cause
At the school?
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
because
It was dark. Well, after
yes.
you pointed out to me, we added that temporary light
Yeah.
stanchion for the next election. But yes, it's well lit.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that.
Still lots of snow though. So.
Yeah, because it's still dark out, you know.
Yeah.
And before we close up, prayers to the family of the gentleman at the bridge yesterday.
Yes.
God bless you guys.
Yeah, that's a terrible thing. Well, thank you for listening. Thank
Great
you
way
all
to
for
close
getting
out,
up.
John. That's a beautiful ending
Yes,
right there.
and there is our future fire
It
station.
certainly is.
Prayers to the family of the
Thank you.
gentleman at the bridge yesterday. God bless you guys.
Yeah, that's terrible. Well, thank you for listening. Thank
Great
you
way
all
to
for
close
getting
out,
up.
John. That's a beautiful ending
Yes,
right
and
there.
there is our future fire station.
Certainly